My friends, let us take a moment, just a breath, to step back from the noise of our lives. In relationships, we are often so busy searching for certainty, for approval, for proof that we are loved, that we overlook the deeper dance unfolding between two human beings. And so, I want to speak to you today about something subtle, something dangerous, and yet profoundly beautiful: the danger of seeing what others don't. In relationships, the pursuit of mutual growth begins with recognizing that no two people arrive fully formed. Every individual carries unfinished stories, evolving habits, and dreams still shaping themselves. When partners understand this, the relationship shifts from a quiet pressure to perform into a shared environment of learning. Instead of expecting the other person to have all the answers, each partner becomes willing to explore the questions together. There is a subtle power in saying we are both learning, because it removes the illusion that either person must be perfect to be loved. And this simple shift in mindset creates room for honesty, vulnerability, and genuine connection. What strengthens a relationship is not flawless behavior, but the willingness to observe, adapt, and grow. When partners embrace this perspective, challenges become catalysts rather than barriers. Misunderstandings stop feeling like evidence of incompatibility and instead become invitations to expand understanding. Conflicts no longer represent personal failures, but become mirrors that help each person see where they can develop greater emotional maturity. This creates a dynamic where both individuals uplift each other, not by demanding change, but by inspiring it through patience, empathy, and consistent effort. Imagine a relationship where both people wake up not asking, "How must my partner meet my expectations today?" but "How can we support each other's evolution?" This is the beginning of a powerful shift. Growth-oriented partners are not afraid to address difficult truths, but they do so without judgment. They create a safe space where mistakes are not punishable events, but stepping stones toward improvement. And in such an environment, confidence flourishes. People feel freer to express themselves, to take emotional risks, and to share their authentic thoughts, because they know they won't be dismissed or shamed for being imperfect. This level of psychological safety becomes the backbone of long-lasting connection. There is something profoundly motivating about witnessing your partner strive to become better, not for you, but for themselves. It naturally creates a reciprocal desire to rise as well. Growth is contagious. When one partner learns healthier communication, the other becomes more open. When one becomes more patient, the atmosphere becomes calmer. When one begins healing old patterns, the relationship transforms. This mutual evolution builds a foundation far stronger than the fragile walls that perfectionism creates. Perfectionism isolates, but growth unites. In relationships that prioritize growth, partners do not rely on assumptions. They rely on curiosity. They ask questions. They seek clarity instead of comfort. They understand that emotional intimacy is built not on flawless alignment, but on the willingness to explore differences. This attitude dramatically reduces resentment, because neither partner expects the other to remain unchanged. Instead, they anticipate development. They are prepared to adjust, to shift, and to expand their understanding of each other over time. One of the most powerful aspects of mutual growth is the way it transforms setbacks. Instead of interpreting challenges as signs of incompatibility, partners begin to see them as part of the natural evolution of two human beings, learning how to love each other better. Moments of friction become opportunities to uncover patterns, fears, and habits that may have gone unnoticed. In this way, the relationship becomes a teacher, a guide that shapes both individuals into more aware, grounded, and emotionally intelligent versions of themselves. And within this evolving space, there emerges an energy that keeps the relationship alive. The sense of discovery never fades. Each partner continues to reveal new layers of themselves, inviting the other to do the same. What begins as a simple recognition that perfection is not required gradually becomes a powerful truth. Growth is the real romance, and the journey of becoming, not the expectation of being, is where the deepest connection is born. Communication in relationships becomes truly transformative when it shifts from a desire to win toward a desire to understand. Too often, Conversations turn into subtle competitions: who is right, who remembers correctly, whose perspective carries more weight. But when partners communicate this way, the relationship slowly becomes a battlefield disguised as dialogue. The deeper truth is that emotional connection cannot survive in an atmosphere where every discussion feels like a debate. What strengthens a relationship is communication rooted in the willingness to step into the other person's world, even for a moment, and see reality through their eyes. That small act changes everything. It softens the tone, calms the defenses, and shows your partner that the goal is not to overpower them, but to understand them. There is a profound shift that happens when you stop listening for a pause so you can respond and instead listen to truly absorb. In that space, partners feel valued rather than dismissed. They begin to open up instead of shutting down. And this emotional openness is the foundation of trust. When trust is present, even difficult conversations become easier to navigate, because both people know the goal is clarity, not conflict. This simple but powerful shift in intention turns communication into a bridge rather than a barrier. Imagine speaking with someone who genuinely wants to grasp your feelings, not just the words you're saying, but the meaning beneath them. That experience alone deepens connection in ways surface-level conversation never could. One of the challenges many couples face is the instinct to defend their position without ever exploring what their partner is truly trying to express. But communication that seeks understanding requires patience. It requires slowing down long enough to ask, what is the emotion underneath their words? Often, a statement that sounds like frustration is actually fear. A comment that sounds like indifference may be masking insecurity. When partners learn to hear the feeling behind the voice, the relationship becomes more compassionate and less reactive. And it is in this empathy-driven dialogue that genuine progress happens. In relationships, security is built not through perfect compatibility, but through the consistent experience of feeling heard. When one partner says something and the other responds with openness instead of resistance, a sense of emotional safety develops. That safety becomes the anchor that keeps the relationship steady during moments of tension. You begin to trust that miscommunications won't turn into crises, that disagreements won't become personal attacks, and that both of you can speak honestly without fearing judgment. This creates a powerful environment where vulnerability becomes natural rather than risky. What many people overlook is that understanding does not mean agreeing. You can see your partner's viewpoint clearly and still hold your own perspective. The difference is that you are no longer communicating to defend your ego, you are communicating to build connection. When partners adopt this mindset, even long-standing conflicts begin to dissolve because the energy behind the conversation has changed. It becomes less about proving who is right and more about discovering what will bring the relationship back into harmony. There is a unique strength that emerges in a relationship where communication is handled with care. Instead of reacting based on assumptions, partners learn to clarify. Instead of bottling emotions, they express them with intention. Instead of assuming the worst, they ask questions that invite honesty. And these shifts create a dynamic where both individuals feel respected, not just in moments of peace, but especially during moments of tension. Respect during ease is simple. Respect during conflict is the real test. When communication becomes a mutual exploration rather than a verbal tug-of-war, relationships transform from fragile connections into resilient partnerships. Each conversation becomes an opportunity to grow closer rather than drift apart. And gradually, you begin to realize that the strength of a relationship is not measured by how rarely you argue, but by how deeply you understand one another when you do. Understanding is the anchor, the fuel, and the quiet force that keeps two people aligned even when life becomes complex. Appreciation in relationships is far more than a polite habit. It is an emotional nutrient, something the connection depends on to stay alive and energized. When partners stop acknowledging each other's efforts, both big and small, the relationship begins to operate on assumptions. Assumptions slowly drain warmth, and emotional distance forms quietly, almost invisibly. But when appreciation becomes a daily practice, something remarkable happens. The relationship transforms into a space where each person feels seen, valued, and emotionally safe. This feeling of being genuinely noticed creates a sense of belonging that no grand gesture can replace. Sometimes a single sincere acknowledgement carries more power than 100 unspoken thoughts. It tells your partner, you matter here. There is an undeniable shift in energy when someone feels appreciated. People naturally open up more, contribute more, and connect more deeply when their efforts are recognized rather than taken for granted. In a relationship, each person is constantly offering pieces of themselves: time, patience, emotions, attention, vulnerability. When these offerings go unnoticed, even strong individuals begin to feel invisible. But appreciation acts like a mirror, reflecting their value back to them. This reflection becomes motivation, helping both partners show up more fully. Suddenly, small acts of kindness multiply because the environment encourages them. You start to see partners leaning into each other with more generosity, more softness, and more intention. The beauty of appreciation lies in its simplicity. It does not require elaborate speeches or dramatic expressions. Often it is the brief moments, the "I noticed that," "Thank you for doing this," "I appreciate how you handled that," "It means a lot that you try," that keep a relationship emotionally rich. These small recognitions accumulate over time, forming a foundation of emotional reassurance. When gratitude becomes habitual, misunderstandings decrease because each person feels emotionally secure. They are less likely to interpret neutral actions as negative or assume the worst during tense moments. Appreciation reduces the emotional distance that miscommunication creates. Many people forget that appreciation works best when it is specific. A general thanks is pleasant, but a thoughtful acknowledgement hits the heart more deeply. When you recognize the effort behind the action, the intention, rather than just the outcome, you communicate something powerful. You are paying attention. This level of awareness strengthens the bond because it assures your partner they are not moving through the relationship unnoticed. Awareness is one of the most meaningful forms of affection. What creates even deeper impact is that appreciation reminds partners that love is not just a feeling. It is a choice, a practice, and a daily behavior. When you take time to appreciate your partner, you reinforce the relationship in a way that feelings alone cannot. Emotion fluctuates, but practice endures. And appreciation, when practiced consistently, turns the relationship into a supportive, emotionally stable environment where both individuals can thrive. It becomes easier to be patient, easier to forgive, and easier to communicate because the emotional foundation is strong. There is also a quiet kind of healing that occurs through appreciation. Many people enter relationships carrying old wounds, past rejections, betrayals, or experiences of feeling unnoticed. Consistent appreciation begins to soften these wounds, reminding them that this connection is different, safer, and more nurturing. When someone hears "I see you" in the form of daily gratitude, they start to let go of defenses they did not even realize they were holding. Appreciation makes vulnerability feel less risky. And perhaps the most compelling part of all is how appreciation deepens emotional intimacy. It creates a rhythm between partners, a steady, reassuring exchange of acknowledgement that strengthens attachment. Each expression of gratitude becomes a moment of reconnection, reminding both individuals why they chose each other in the first place. In this environment, love becomes not just something they share, but something they actively build, reinforce, and renew every single day. Flexibility in expectations and stability in commitment form one of the most powerful combinations in a healthy relationship. Many couples struggle not because they lack love, but because they hold rigid, unspoken expectations of how their partner should think, behave, or respond. When expectations become fixed, disappointment becomes inevitable. People evolve, circumstances shift, and external pressures arise, yet some partners still expect consistency in the areas where change is natural and even necessary. The ability to adapt to these changes determines whether a relationship bends or breaks. Flexibility does not mean lowering standards. It means understanding that growth brings transformation, and transformation demands room to unfold. When partners allow each other to evolve without fear of judgment, a relationship becomes an environment where both individuals can expand rather than shrink. At the same time, stability and commitment provides the grounding force that allows flexibility to flourish. Commitment is the reassurance that even as challenges appear and adjustments become necessary, neither partner is going anywhere. It is the emotional anchor that keeps the relationship steady through transitions. When commitment is strong, flexibility becomes less threatening because both partners know that change will not weaken the foundation. Instead, it becomes an opportunity to refine the relationship structure, making it stronger and more resilient. In this way, commitment becomes a source of emotional safety, while flexibility becomes a source of emotional intelligence. Together, they create a relationship that can weather uncertainty without collapsing. Consider how relationships naturally evolve. Careers shift, personal values deepen, goals expand, and external challenges arise unexpectedly. A partner who was once carefree may become more serious as responsibilities grow. Someone who preferred solitude may begin craving deeper connection. These changes are not signs of incompatibility, they are signs of life moving forward. Flexibility allows partners to adjust to these shifts without clinging to outdated versions of each other. Instead of saying, "You've changed," they say, "I see your growth." This creates a supportive dynamic where evolution is not feared but honored. The relationship becomes less about preserving the past and more about embracing the present. Stability and commitment also means staying connected even when the relationship passes through uncomfortable phases. There will be moments when one partner feels overwhelmed or emotionally distant. There may be periods when the relationship feels out of sync or communication becomes strained. In these moments, it is commitment, not intensity, not passion, not idealized expectations that carries the relationship forward. Commitment says, "We will figure this out together," even when the path looks unclear. It is the steady, quiet force that prevents temporary discomfort from turning into permanent disconnection. In relationships where both flexibility and commitment are present, partners learn to adapt without losing their sense of togetherness. This balance encourages collaboration rather than control. Instead of forcing situations to fit expectation, partners work together to find solutions that respect both individuals. They negotiate, compromise, and explore alternatives without resentment. This approach strengthens emotional maturity because it requires listening, patience, and an understanding that neither partner can or should remain exactly the same forever. A relationship built on flexibility and commitment also encourages deeper emotional intimacy. When partners know they are allowed to express their evolving needs without fear of rejection, they become more honest. When they feel supported in their personal growth, rather than restricted by outdated expectations, they become more open. And when they trust that commitment remains steady through periods of transformation, they feel more secure. This combination nurtures an emotional environment in which both people feel free to grow individually while still growing together. Over time, partners in such relationships come to understand that love is not maintained by rigid routines or static roles. It is maintained through adaptability, trust, and the willingness to meet each other where they are today, not where they used to be. The relationship becomes a living, breathing connection, strong enough to stay grounded and flexible enough to evolve. And within this dynamic, partners discover a powerful truth. Stability makes love safe, and flexibility keeps love alive. So let us be humble in our seeing, gentle in our knowing, and patient in our loving. For the deepest relationships are not built on one person understanding more than the other, but on two souls, learning, stumbling, awakening, and transforming together. After all, the beauty of love is not in having all the answers, but in discovering them hand in hand. If you want, I can refine this speech, make it longer, more dramatic, or add storytelling.